Hi, and welcome to Cherished and Found. I'm Danielle Gibbons, the lead coach, and I have the lovely Susan Holt with me. Susan
Hi.
Holt is Susan Holt is a radio host, now author, business owner, mother of 3 boys, and this year will mark 20 years as a wife to her husband, Luke. So thank you for sparing time in your busy, busy, busy schedule.
Oh, thanks for having me. Any opportunity to spend time with you, I will take it.
Oh, we are friends, so
Yes.
yes, this is
It,
why.
as you notice, it even pops up in the book that we're friends.
Yes, you have to read this. I recently went to Susan's book launch. It's going to be hard. I'm going to be calling you Susie.
That's
But
fine. Yeah.
I recently went to your book launch, and I was so moved by, well, the people that were there supporting you, but also just what your husband had said. I got
Yeah.
really teary. He was talking about how you were on this panel and how you said less but had more impact. And so this is the book, Becoming Susan. And as you can see, it's not a very big book. And she's already commented about that. So I can comment on that too. It's not a very big book, but what's in there is relatable, impactful, full of nuggets of wisdom, just like little nuggets that you can take with you. And so I was underlining, and then I even like highlighted a whole page and realized I just had to do the whole page and dog ear the whole thing because I was underlining everything, because
Mm.
I resonated with it so much. So thank you for writing this, but I would love to hear a bit about your, I guess, vulnerable moments in writing this book.
Yeah, there's lots of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let me tell you first my favorite bit in writing this book.
Yeah.
It's right near the beginning of the book. And I wrote a story about why I didn't complete computer science at university.
Mm.
In that, and I started computer science. I'd done IT at high school and was fine. I went to university and enrolled in computer science, and it was fine. And then at some point I realized I needed to go and actually do work, and I went into the labs and I couldn't even figure out how to log in. Like, step one,
Yeah.
log into the computer, and then it would show me what I had to do. I couldn't figure out how to log in. And so I left the computer lab, went straight down and signed myself out of that class. And I hadn't really told anybody that story. Even when it happened, I didn't really tell people why I had stopped doing computer science. But writing it down and thinking somebody might read this someday, it was like it gave me so much freedom to just open up those parts that I haven't felt like, those bits that I felt like I had to hide because I had some image that I had to keep up. And
Mm.
so for me, that is sort of my favorite bit that I wrote, because it's what led to me feeling like I could be vulnerable with
Yeah.
everything else in the book. And the reality is the whole thing happened on the back of what was a really difficult time mentally and emotionally, as it was for a lot of people. 2020 was a rough year around the globe. And for me, the pressures of home life and work life, and the children now schooling from home. We had a relative living with us. We got a dog for some reason. And it all just became so much that I fell apart under the weight of all of it.
Mm.
And it just highlighted to me how much I had lost myself, that I was not in control of any part of my life. Um, and then we had the opportunity to speak to somebody who was starting a writing course. And Luke said, you used to love writing. Maybe this is a way that you can kind of reconnect.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the book ended up coming from.
I
Mm.
love that, because for that, you would probably say that you're not tech savvy, right? Because you didn't complete computer science. You couldn't
I
even log
think
in.
that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah, but now you're on a Zoom and you're a radio host and you do all of these podcasts and whatever. You're just out there. So
In tech land,
yeah, you're in
however it
tech.
happens.
Yeah, so I think it's funny how the Lord works that,
Yes.
yeah, couldn't log in, but now you're on a Zoom and mastering it all. Yeah.
Bit
That's
by
pretty
bit.
incredible.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like how God works. And I think that's one of the things that I so the book itself is really me reflecting on quite a lot of stories in my life. And it's funny how when we actually take the time to look back, we can see how God's been moving in our life, and we can sort of see this pattern of how God has been working in our life. And for me, that was part of the experience that I got out of this book, actually, was just that whole experience of reflecting and seeing, there he is. There he is. He was there. He was there in that computer science lab with me. And, that could have been a moment that said, you'll never be able to do this. But instead, it's become the source of something that has enabled me to do so much more.
That's beautiful.
It's how he works, isn't it? He loves
Yeah,
taking
it is.
garbage and making something wonderful out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, he does. So who can you tell us a little bit about who this book is for? Or is it
Yeah. I don't think I wrote it. I don't think when I was writing it, I genuinely believed I was ever going to actually publish it and release it. Like I said I was. And I was telling people, I'm writing a book, but I don't think I actually believed anyone was ever going to read it. So when I was writing it, I wasn't necessarily targeting anybody. But when it was going through the edit process and I had an editor, and suddenly I was thinking, I'm actually on the journey to putting this book out, in my mind was women like me, women who are mothers and wives and working, and in the midst of it all, it's so easy to lose ourselves. And it's not an uncommon story. I think a lot of us can relate to the idea of life coming along, and we get caught up in all of these different hats that we have to wear. And instead of creating opportunities, we start to just take opportunities that come our way, and we say the yeses that we think other people need us to say in order to fulfill the roles that we have to fulfill. And we lose our voice, we lose our way and our purpose in order to fulfill what we believe others need from us. And so in my head, I think were people, women like me specifically. But interestingly, I spoke to a man today who bought the book online and read it in one night. And he said that he found the book was really good for him, that he found that it made him feel a bit less alone, that it made him feel that he was normal, and that it kind of has given him a couple of practical steps. In each chapter, I sort of write some questions at the end, and he's started thinking about some of those questions in his life. And I wouldn't have picked that, but I'm sort of excited that maybe it's got a broader audience than I picked for myself. Yeah.
I do think it does, and it's very relatable, very relatable. I'm laughing out loud reading it, and my husband, whose name is Luke, as well as your husband,
Yeah.
he was asking me what, and so I read him a page, and he's laughing. So he's gonna read it after me. I'm really excited for him to read it, but I do think it has a broader audience than probably what you intended it for. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you laughed out loud. That's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
It's okay if you were laughing at me. That's fine.
No, the similarities of marriage, I guess, the stories are very relatable. Yeah, but I don't want to give too much away, but you were talking about fixing something, and currently we have a toilet that needs to be fixed, and it's been a couple months now. So, I laughed out loud, and I was like,
Yep, you can see it.
yeah.
Some people have handy husbands who are fantastic at fixing things, but that's not what I've been blessed with.
Yeah. And you know what? I love my husband because he knows that about himself. So he'll just hire somebody. He's like, well, just pay someone to do it. But I think it's just a toilet. Like, I'm sure I can figure this out, YouTube it, and let's not spend the money. But yeah. Anyways, I digress. You shared a little bit about what prompted your journey to writing Becoming Susan. Can you share a little bit more on that?
Yeah. Okay. So I I think I always considered myself quite a decent writer when I was growing up. I was the kind of person who in high school could leave an assignment to the last night and get a really good grade, not necessarily because I knew the topic, but because I could write well. And I know I've enjoyed writing, and in so my husband and I have a business together, and in our business, I tend to be throwing the jobs of writing copy for things, and that's tended to always been the way that I've gone. Along the way, though, I think just with getting busy, I even stopped, journaling for myself, like taking in my quiet time. I tend to have been more, I'll read the Bible, I'll pray, and I'll think things through, but I even stopped writing in journaling, and I'd stopped writing in any kind of form for years, for a lot of years. And so I had this breakdown in 2020. I started seeing a psychologist, and she'd sort of started reconnecting me and helping me to ask questions of myself that were identifying my choices as opposed to what other people's choices for me were. And then early in 2021, Luke and I did an interview with a man by the name of Matt Bird. He's from the UK, and he runs a ministry called the Cinnamon Network. But we did an interview with him because he is someone who is dyslexic, and yet he has written multiple books. And so now he actually writes, he runs a course internationally for people to learn how to write a book. And we did an interview with him. And at the end of that interview, Luke said, I really think you should do this course. It's 6 weeks on a Tuesday night with people all around the world. And you could at least, just see. And if you want to write a book, then you can do that. And if not, at least, you've done something that's just for you. And so I started doing this course. Now, in this course, I entered it with no idea of what book I might even write. I had zero ideas if it would be fiction or nonfiction, if it would be a kid's book, if it would be long, if it would be short, or if it would be anything at all. But in one of the first sessions, the task that we had to do was to write the blurb, the back of the book. If someone was to pick up your book, what would they read? And so that night, I just wrote. It was kind of like one of those moments. I don't know if you've experienced this, Danielle, where it's almost like you feel like you turn your brain off and you just do. And it was like one of those moments. I just turned my brain off and I just did. And it was like, I just want to have a moment of pleasure, just of writing, just for the pleasure of it. And that blurb is almost, what I wrote that night is almost identical to what is the blurb of this particular book. Now, the idea is once you've written that blurb, that becomes the true north of your book.
Okay.
So that tells you what you're going to write. So you write your blurb, and then you write that book, the book that embodies what you've just written. And so for me, that's really what it came down to. Once I had that blurb written, it kind of became clear what I had to write.
Wow. That's a great course.
Yeah, but it's an excellent course. And the idea actually is that you write the whole book in the 6 weeks, and then you do, in the last couple of weeks, you learn the process of edit and formatting and designing your cover and how to actually publish and what you need to include, so that from there you've got maybe another 6 weeks and you'll have a book done. For me, it was another 2 years before I sort of finished that whole process. But the weird thing is that this is such a self-reflective book. This is a book, it's called Becoming Susan, and it really is a lot of my stories. And everything in my life in the last few years has been trying to hide myself. I hide behind my husband, and I hide behind, these things that I can push in front of me so I don't have to talk about myself. In the radio show, I do the radio show with my husband. You've talked about the fact I'm a radio host. We do the show together, but he's the bigger personality because I'm actually quite introverted. And so it felt weird that suddenly I'm writing my stories and then expecting people to read it. I can't tell you what it has done for me to now have this book out there, have people reading it and feeding back to me that it's good. Like that just instills so much value in me. And I think it just clarifies a bit of what my purpose has been all along, and I've been missing it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What your
Yeah.
purpose is. Oh.
But what's interesting about talking to you about this, Danielle, is that you're one of the people in my world who's really encouraged my voice. Like right from early on when we met, because we haven't been friends a very long time. I've only met you in recent years. Um, and yet right from early on, I remember you calling me out of the blue and saying, I've just been praying for you and God told me to tell you, you need to speak, you need to speak, you need to use your voice.
Yeah.
And that's been your message in my life, our whole friendship.
Mm.
Um, and so I feel like now I can believe you.
Yeah, no, I remember you used to lead worship at our church, and I just kept getting this word to share with you, that you have a voice to be listened to, or people will listen to your voice, something like that, but people will listen was the main point of it. And I was very shy. I didn't know you very well. And why would I randomly go up to you? And was that God telling me to tell you that? All of these thoughts, but I thought, you know what? After church, I will tell her this, because I felt like the Lord wanted me to share that with you. And then you laughed, and I was like, dodged a bullet. But you randomly called me after church while I was still at church. Yeah, yeah. And I thought, oh, okay, Lord, all right. I guess you really want me to tell her this. And then I told you that little word of encouragement, and that's when you told me, oh, it's funny you say that, because I was just questioning or doubting about writing a book. I'm writing a book, and that's the first time you told me. And I thought, oh, okay, all right, Lord. And yeah, just
And here we are.
and here we are. I know, but just your voice, but even just your voice is resounding. It takes up space, you know? So I this is what I'm good at, as I'm good at encouraging. So if I could
You
just
are.
encourage people all day long, hand out this, yeah, it'd be great. But got life. Anyways, back to questions.
Oh,
So
yes, yes.
yes. Sorry. So over the decades of your life and all of the musings that you wrote in your book, was there a pivotal moment that made you stop and think, who am I? And there is a part that you talk about drinking coffee. Was it really drinking coffee? I want to know. I really want to know. Was it drinking coffee?
um, I probably would say that moment sitting on my bed, unable to control the tears, was the moment where I stopped and said, I don't even recognize this person that I am. I just feel so disconnected from every situation in my life. And I feel like I've been pushed here. I haven't chosen it. And I think when we're in a position in our life where we feel like we don't have control, and when we feel like we haven't chosen the position in, all of our power is taken away. And once we feel like our power has been taken away, all of it, when you're saying to me your voice has got power, I can't believe that, because I feel so powerless in the center of my own life. And so for me, I think that was a really pivotal moment of saying, I don't recognize who I am anymore. And part of the process of then writing the book was about recognizing that I might not have feel like I've had control to get myself here, but I can be in control where I am, and I can make choices from where I am about where I go next. And things don't have to move fast. It's okay if things move slow, and some things will move fast, and that's going to be really exciting. But the thing is, I actually am the owner of my decisions, and I need to own the consequences of each one of those decisions.
That's really good. I know for me, I'm a new mom. I have an 8-month-old, and I've been married 6+ years. So I personally have had that sense of loss of who I am. Where did Danielle go? You know, what I eat, how I dress, my humor, even my country. I'm not Australian. I am from America. So there was something that my grandmother told me way back when, is that you can never go back. You can never go back. You can never move back to a state or where you once lived. It won't be the same. You can only go forward. So I find that challenging because if I had lost a piece of myself back then, how am I supposed to find it going forward? So why was going back to Susan so important, so vital for you?
For me, it was exactly what I was just talking about. It was about ownership. It was
Mm,
about ownership of my life story. And it
mm,
was almost like it was a journey of maturity. So where I was feeling powerless and the victim in my own life,
mm,
and it was kind of about going back and owning each of the decisions that got me to where I am.
mm.
Um, and and just recognizing that's actually the best space for us to be in, when we can, the thing that's actually challenged me the most since writing this book, the verse that says, let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Mm,
And I was reading it, and the word that struck me was the word your. It was, let your yes be yes, let your no be no.
mm,
Your yeses and my yeses are going to be different,
yeah.
but your job is for your yeses to be yours, and you own them. And regardless of the outcome of your yes, you own that your answer was yes.
Mm,
And where my answer is yes, I need to own the outcome of those decisions. And where my answer is no, I need to own the outcome of those decisions. So the going back was partly about, I guess, picking up the little cookie crumbs along the way that were going to be helpful for me to move forward from here. It wasn't about dragging the past with me. I
right.
think our greatest state of joy and fulfillment is when we're actually very present in the moment that we're in, not with our baggage of our past, and not overwhelmed with predicting what the future might be.
Yeah,
But I think, just for me, it was a process of going back and owning it, so I can say, no, my life is my life.
yeah,
I am in this process of becoming, and I can own my yeses and I can own my nos.
yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do from here on out.
Yeah, I did get a lot of that out of the book of don't worry about the past resentments. That's not going to do anything for you right now. Being present in the moment, jumping in puddles and enjoying. So
Yes.
I really got that throughout the whole book of even your leadership roles and who you are, that you just need to accept it. So I really got that throughout the
That's
whole
good.
book. It's really good.
Mm.
Yeah. So you and I both are Christians, and identity is key. So it's not who we are, it's whose we are. We're God's children. And I stole that from a client of mine.
Yeah,
It's who
good.
we are.
Mm.
When going back to Susan, or those moments when you felt the most joy, fulfilled, and fun, was there an element of reminding yourself of whose you were in God at those times? Or can you just explain that a little bit?
Yeah, there absolutely is. And I think, for me, there was that. So my journey, essentially, the reason why the book is called Becoming Susan, I've had years where I was known as Susan, and then years where I was known as Sue, years where I was known as Susie.
Mm,
And all along, I was just reflecting the persona of the person that I thought people needed me to be.
mm,
And so the idea of Becoming Susan was about me actually rediscovering who did God actually purpose me to be? Who did he, we're created on purpose with a purpose, and to fulfill a purpose. And so what actually did God want from me in the first instance? I believe he calls me Susan. And so to reconnect with whose I am in the form that I believe he knows me as, has been a really special part of this whole experience for me. And in doing that, I feel like it helps me find my true north. Now what's wonderful about God is that,
mm.
and it's just, honestly, I love about a God, it's the thing that I will always say I love the most about him. He's so big, and yet he's so intimate. He knows everything that's happening everywhere in the world, and yet he cares so deeply and intimately about what each one of us is individually facing, right? It's just kind of the most wonderful thing. And in the midst of that, he takes all of our mistakes and all of those bits where we might have made decisions that weren't the straightest path, and
Mm,
somehow he gets us where he meant for us to go anyway.
yeah,
Um, and that's, I think, one of the beautiful discoveries when we reconnect with that understanding whose we are. We
yeah,
can find that even though we might have made some decisions that made life a bit harder than it probably needed to be, we're still positioned right now in a place where we can fulfill exactly what he needs of us to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, so good. I love that.
Mm. It's
There's
pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. I had a boss that once said, because sometimes you can get decision paralysis, you know, should I do this? Does God want me to do this? Do I take that job, or do I move to this country or that state? And he told me once that it doesn't matter. As long as you're seeking the will of God, you can make any decision. And just like what you said, he'll take you where he wants you to go anyway. So
Yeah,
you
he
can
does.
deviate as much as you want. He'll bring you right to where he wants you. And it is very beautiful.
Yeah, we talk about this moment of confluence where it's like your life makes sense because all of these different experiences that you've had suddenly all come together and they all have a role in you doing what you need to do.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
I got a lot from the book. I wanted to read a whole like 2 pages, but I think that might be a nuisance. But you just gotta read the book, Becoming Susan. I want to talk about the part that really, really, really made me. I had to put the book down and think and kind of cry a little bit.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'd see if I wrote it down. Here, let's see. It was one of your reflective questions. So at the end of each chapter, Susan writes down reflective questions, and it's really good to just explore. And sometimes you don't get asked these, or you don't get permission to ask these of yourself. So to take the time to do it. And this question, after jumping in puddles, really made me a bit sad. When was the last time you did something purely for fun, for the sake of fun, just purely for fun? And I had to think, when was the last time that I did something just for fun? And I could not think of the time. And I asked my husband, I said, when was something that we did fun? When was something that we did fun? He said, well, we played board games. I was like, well, no, that was more like checking off a list to me for family time, you know? And I realized, wow, how much of me not being present, thinking that I'm supposed to just do this, tick it off because I have something else. I'm never fully in the moment, or giving myself permission just to jump in puddles for the sake of jumping in puddles. So that probably, and I'm gonna think about it and book some fun in for me because man, it's been long overdue. But that would be the part in the book that made me feel just a bit sad of, wow. And I'm very, very grateful that you wrote these reflective questions, because that really hit like, wow, when was the last time that I had fun? So I want to
love
ask
that
you. Oh
said,
yeah, go ahead.
well, I love that you said in there that the games night was just like checking off a box of family time, because it's more than just fun, isn't it? It's silliness. When was I just silly for the sake of being silly, and it didn't make sense, and it was just spontaneous, and it was just, I felt free. And I will say of you, Danielle, we had a girls' night out not that long ago with a big group of women, and we sat around and we had dinner together, and then we all decided to go and get ice cream. And I was sitting and I couldn't see you, but the women at the table all started laughing, and I turned around and you were dancing and singing, and you were free, and you came with so much energy, and then spent 10 minutes telling us about a 3-hour movie that you enjoyed. And it was wonderful, and you seemed so free, and it was like it was the most relaxed I'd ever seen you.
Oh, it's probably because I was really tired. It was past my bedtime.
But it's those moments, isn't it, where you just kind of let go and go, I actually don't care what people think about me dancing in public right now. I'm going to move. I'm just going to move.
Yeah. It's a good thing you didn't see the dance moves. But I wanted to ask you, when was the last time that you had fun purely for the sake of fun?
Oh, okay. Well, I obviously I try and do that quite a bit. I play a lot of games in my head.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of my favorites is Chasey with the water drops on the shower. this is little silliness, right? This isn't big
Yeah.
silliness. When it comes to silliness, I'm great at silliness with the kids. We do it all the time, particularly in the car, and we do laugh a lot together. But just those little moments of capturing it where I'm like, I just feel playful at the moment. I will play chasey with the water drops in the shower, and I allocate one to God and I allocate one to me, and I race them, and I lose every time.
Really?
20 years I've played this game.
Huh.
I have never won water drop chasey. Never.
Against God.
Against God.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it's not like gods are always in front either. I'm just like, okay, God, that one's going to be yours and that one's going to be mine. And I lose every time.
Wow.
Every time.
You're the first person that I've heard that actually does that game. I thought maybe I was the only one because we used to do it. No, in the car. I used to play it in the car when it would be raining, and I'd be in the back seat and my mom would be driving, and I would just say, which one's gonna race down? Do other people do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yes, we
Okay.
do.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm still a big puddle jumper as well. So if anytime there is rain, if there's not lightning about, I'm out jumping in the puddles, guaranteed.
Yeah,
Every time.
I love that. This book has definitely made me, think of ways to let my yes be yes and my no be no, and do the things that I love to do. Give myself permission to.
Yeah, but you also need to give yourself permission not to. Like, you're in a season of life with a young baby and a business that you're growing, and I think this is the thing. We just need to be gracious with ourselves, don't we? Like, you can't be fun all the time and analyzing the deep questions of life simultaneously. There are moments for things in our life, and we just need to be gracious to ourselves in the midst of it.
Thanks for that. It's so good when someone else tells you that, because I think we're the hardest or the worst critics ourselves. Yeah,
it's true. Absolutely, we are. Yeah.
And if you read the book, my husband and I make a little guest appearance.
Yes, you do, at an Easter United.
Yeah. When I read that, I thought, oh wow, is there another Luke and Danielle at our church?
No, it's all you.
Yeah. So we make a little guest appearance. We're in a little blurb. So yeah, I really have enjoyed this book, and I love talking with you. I could talk with you for hours.
Easily.
For hours. Yeah, for hours. I do like that you wrote at the very end of What Now? The reality is that I'm still not 100% Susan. I'm still becoming Susan. So I want to know, where are you going from here? You said it a bit earlier that it's given you clarity on your purpose, and I got really excited about that. So is there anything that you could reveal to us, if you're feeling ready to, that you feel like God is prompting you, nudging you on?
Okay, so the specifics I actually don't fully know yet. The thing that I found is that I have caught glimpses of who Susan is. And the Susan that I discovered is very centered, and she knows her yeses and she knows her nos, and she knows that they're hers. She's not what other people are expecting of her. So the Susan that I see myself becoming is someone who's more centered and more balanced and more just sure and confident in her decisions and owning of her decisions. And I think I just see myself getting a bit bolder in this, in sharing my voice. I think I'm a normal person, and normal people need to hear from normal people. And so I'm just giving myself permission to be okay with taking a bit more of a platform where I'm able to. So yeah, we've talked about things like a becoming podcast. We've talked about a second book. When I say we, I'm talking about in Luke and I discussing our future, the choices I make impact our marriage and our family. But what it will look like, I'm yet to discover as well, but I'm really excited too.
Oh, I'm excited. I felt like this is the birthing, you got this little baby out, and it's gonna grow, but it's just the beginning of a big family of whatever else God has planted. So it's very exciting.
It is. I think there's something powerful. Look, in reality, it's not like I've found my voice and I'm like, wow, I'm here to be the big voice for everybody. I think each of us have a voice. Each of us have something that needs to be heard by people in the world. I just think it's really exciting when we discover it. And I'm late to the game. In reality, I'm 48 years old and I'm only just accepting it. Even though I've been a radio host and I've been talking this whole time, I've seen myself as a bouncing board to my husband, but now I see I actually have my own voice.
I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
Well, I'm grateful for you.
Yeah.
You've been such a huge encouragement in this, and I'm so grateful that I have you and others like you in my world who back me sharing my story. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'll continue to do that.
You can't help it. It's who you are.
Big things for you. Can you please share, whoever stumbles upon this, how they can purchase your book? I just want to get this goodness out there. It was a phenomenal read and very conversational. I loved it. Loved the book.
Yeah. Well, to get the hard copy, if I can sign it if you buy it through Gracify Me, which is gracifyme.com. So GRACIFY me.com. So that's what I'd love if you can. I'd love to be able to sign a book for you. But if you want to buy it online and get it digitally, almost anywhere online. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, it's everywhere online as Becoming Susan by Susan Holt.
Awesome.
Yeah. Ebooks galore.
Yeah, I can put the link in the YouTube description as well. But I would love to wrap up. If you could end us in prayer.
I'd love to. Father, I just want to thank you so much for being such a good God. I want to thank you that you are a God who is everywhere. You are omnipotent, you are omnipresent, you are omniscient, and yet you care so deeply and intimately about each one of us and each one of our journeys. I want to thank you that each one of us is beautifully and wonderfully made on purpose with a purpose. And Lord, I just want to thank you that you are always working in our lives towards fulfilling the purpose that you have for us. I want to thank you for your grace in those times in our life where we've strayed from who you've created us to be. And I want to thank you that you can still take us no matter how we come to you, and you can use us for the good of your purposes in this world, of bringing your kingdom to earth. So Lord, I just ask for each person who's watching right now that you'll bring clarity to the purpose for which they were created, that you'll show them the way to becoming who it is that you have for them to be at all stages of life from here on out. Lord, I ask that you'll help each one of us to gain from our past the lessons we need to take with us, and we'll let go of those things that no longer serve us. And Lord, I just ask that you'll help each one of us to be a light for you in the world around us, that wherever we go and whatever we do, we will be reflecting the character of you in who we are. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Susie. I'm going to call you Susie. for sharing your heart, for being so obedient to the desires of your heart to finish this book, because it is necessary for the world. So thank you for your time. It is so valuable, and I cannot wait for book 2.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your encouragement. It's certainly been a very scary process, but it's people like you that have made it easier, so thank you.
All right, make sure you go out and buy Becoming Susan and smash the like button. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.